Starting a Business, the ultimate beginner's guide to the secrets, skills, strategies, ideas, principles, methods, and resources to succeed in business. Written by Rayner, narrated by Mikaelson and Tim Clements.
Chapter 1. Becoming a Landlord. The first offline passive income strategy that we'll examine is becoming a landlord. This passive income endeavor, while it can truly be passive once the preliminary task of purchasing a rental property has been completed, is also one of the most expensive ways to jump into the passive income market. This chapter will focus on the steps to take if you want to earn passive income through rental property, and then we'll provide tips on what to avoid and focus on after your home has been purchased. As the 2008 economic crisis demonstrated, in recent years the mortgage lending banks have been particularly lenient when giving out loans to prospective homeowners. While this can be seen as a positive for someone who wants to buy an investment property, it's often the case that banks generally require a 20% down payment on all secondary home properties that will be used for investment purposes. In this way, purchasing an investment property is the exception in terms of how much money the bank requires up front before agreeing to provide the rest of the money for a housing loan. This means if you're looking to buy a relatively cheap investment property, let's say you find one for $175,000, you will be required to have at least $35,000 set aside for this purchase in order to be considered a safe investment by the banks. These numbers make it obvious that owning rental property is one of the more expensive ways that you can earn passive income. Additionally, if you're looking to own multiple unit properties, you can see how quickly your debt will grow. Now that that fact has been established, let's take a look at the steps you should take if you want to pursue this type of passive income stream. Step 1. Be picky. Nobody wants to live in a dump. Before deciding to buy a home, it's important to make sure that you know exactly what type of property you want. One smart question to ask yourself prior to contacting a realtor is whether you are looking to rent single-unit homes or duplexes. Even though it's likely that you will visit properties that are to die for and that you fall in love with immediately, you need to have criteria that can logically ground your decision-making process. For example, if you find a place with a perfect bay window in the front of the house, but then realize that the unit will require more repairs than you're willing to financially commit, step back and look elsewhere. Know how much you want to spend and figure out what specific factors are non-negotiable for you. Step 2. Research your location. In addition to having certain criteria predetermined in terms of what house to choose, you need to research the demographics in the towns in which you're looking. For example, if you find a house that's being offered at a price that seems too good to be true, it probably is. Factors that can determine a low price of a home include a poor school system and high crime rate. Zillow and MLS are two websites that provide useful information on these types of topics. Even if you personally don't care about the quality of the school system, your tenants will. Ignoring these factors will limit your tenant pool and make it harder for you to rent your property. One of the worst situations that a landlord can face is an empty unit. Step 3. Understand the value of a great tenant. Once you have committed to a property that feels right, you can start renting out your property to worthy tenants. It's important to keep your tenants happy so that you can avoid vacancies within your unit. If you find a long-term tenant, you will have financial security far into the future. A good way to maintain tenant happiness is to think of these people as your customers. You should look to avoid friend relationships because often this leads to missed tenant payments and more leniency in rule following. If you follow these steps and buy a rental property that can easily start earning income for you shortly after you purchase it, you should be able to easily start earning passive income. Of course, sometimes the costs of repairs and other type of maintenance may limit this revenue stream, but for the most part, you'll be seeing profit against the mortgage that you've taken out, especially if you buy a duplex and are earning rent from two separate units. Chapter 2. Joining a real estate investment group. The next type of offline passive income strategy that we'll look at still involves real estate. A real estate investment group, or REIG, allows you, the passive income earner, to enter into a group of like-minded investors who use money to collectively develop properties before selling them to individuals. The individuals who
Sample complete. Ready to continue?